Hi, I'm David Strickland with the Florida State Fiddlers Association. I'm here today with Tricia Spencer and Howard Raines, who are going to be our guests at the 2023 Florida State Fiddlers Convention. So most people who are going to watch this know a lot about you guys, but just assuming that, new ears are going to hear this, I'd like you both to give me a little bit of your old time origin stories. And maybe Tricia, you could start.
Yeah, I like that. I
Hmm.
always, everybody has a good origin story,
Hmm.
hopefully. Um, Mine started probably before I was born. I
Hmm.
was thinking about this the other day. And my mom, my parents, they lived right across the pasture from my grandparents, and my grandparents, they played music all the time. It was kind of like their thing that they did for fun and entertainment. So when I was born, I was just born into this, where I just thought this is what everybody else did. That they they sat around and played cards and um, shot guns, went to church, and played fiddle tunes. So that's some point I decided I wanted to be a fiddler. So my grandma taught me enough to fiddle so that she could get me started, and then she sent me. My grandpa showed an interest. He was the fiddler, and so once I got going, I pretty much studied from him. And then kind of the outlet that we had was contest, and so I primarily fiddled just so that I could compete and win money, and didn't have really another outlet for it. And so when I finally beat my grandpa, I went to some other great masters in the area so that um, I could make more money and beat them. So
So, do you think there was a tune, like when you were early in your process of becoming a fiddler, that really like drove home to you that this is like the style that you like, or is there any one particular thing?
yeah, but I mean, remember, it's different. Contest fiddling is way different than like the communal fiddling that we all do now.
Right.
And so the tunes that I was learning back then were tunes that were flashy to win a contest. And so to me, at a tender age of 10, the ultimate tune to play well and to play was Tom and Jerry. And I played it, or tried to play at it, for many years. And matter of fact, Tom and Jerry played a big part in our life when we met each other, because by the time I met Howard, Tom and Jerry had left kind of a nasty taste in my mouth, and so I didn't want to fiddle those tunes anymore. So um,
You were looking for something new.
I was looking for something different. Yeah, yeah.
All right, Howard, how about you?
Well, um, my family also played music. They did not play old time fiddle music, but the fiddle was very important to my family for many generations, and it's the instruments have been passed down for many generations, and so it was just always important in our family to learn the fiddle. And my dad could play, but he was more of a singer and a finger picker and stuff like that. So I kind of just got into folk music and traditional music that way. And, his record collection of blues and bluegrass and folk albums and stuff like that. Um, and then just later in life, I just sort of encountered old time fiddling in my 20s through local musicians and started learning about it and from them, and that just really got me more and more interested in Texas fiddling and the origins of my family's music and stuff like that, and the kind of stuff they might have been playing. And it kind of went from there. But really, when I was first starting out down in Central Texas, it just kind of I was playing bluegrass a lot, and then just got involved in playing dances, and that's really what got me into fiddling was playing dances.
Was there a tune like what was the first tune that you feel like you learned on the fiddle where you could say like, hell yeah, like I'm like a fiddler?
Wow. Uh, Geez. I mean, honestly, it was probably something like Soldier's Joy or something like that. When I think back on it, that's kind of one of the early tunes, or like, Old Joe Clark or something like that, which I still actually really like those tunes. So,
Like that segues a little bit into what I wanted to ask was, are there any tunes like currently that you just can't stand to play?
that I can't stand to play. I don't really know if I have any that I can't stand to play, because it's almost like it's more about how a tune is played. Like, so, I guess it's from different perspectives. Like if I'm on guitar or on fiddle, it it it's different. If I'm on guitar, if it's like got a whole bunch of really fast chord movement, then I don't get excited about it. But
Right.
um,
I know the feeling.
Mhm.
but if I can find a way to reduce those chords, then I love playing those. I might love the tune, and oftentimes that's the case. A tune like "Whiskey Before Breakfast" is an example of a tune that it's kind of a tired old tune, and it's one that people switch back and forth on the chords a whole lot. But if you take a lot of those chords out, it's actually a lot of fun to play.
I agree with you on that one. What about you, Tricia? Is there anything that just kind of gets under your skin these days, or you'd rather just not play?
It's not really about tunes at all. I think I would play just about any tune. I don't have any dislike of tunes. I think I have more of a dislike of how they're played. So um,
Hmm.
I might avoid sessions that I feel like are played too fast, or or perhaps I might avoid sessions where I feel like the participants aren't listening. It's more about
The,
maybe
the
the
vibe.
feel of things and less about like the specific notes. So
Hmm.
Sure.
I did want to point out about our the way we were brought up.
Hmm.
Howard's family was very refined. I doubt they would have ever called their instrument a fiddle. They
They called
probably
it
a violin.
a violin.
Whereas me, on the other hand, totally backwoods, definitely fiddlers. I
Mhm.
wouldn't have been surprised if my grandpa hadn't made himself a fiddle out of a twig and some,
Mhm.
I don't know, who knows? But anyway, definitely major differences in how we were brought up in music.
Mhm.
You still are the refined one.
Well, I have a question that I was planning on asking a little later on, but I want to ask you now, like, because it seems kind of relevant to what you just said is, and you can feel free to answer this however you like, but where do you see yourselves on the spectrum between being a vernacular purist and embracing the folk process? Like there's, some people want to play every note from the 1927 recording of something, and other people learned a really cool tune one night at a jam, and that's how they play it for the rest of their lives. So I know there's a broad spectrum between those two things, but where do you guys personally fall in
Can
there?
I go first? Because I actually think about this a lot, and I try to talk about this when I teach students. Uh, as far as trying to like define what I think I am, I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to say is I find it very important to go back and listen to the sources and know how they were played and study them. And then what I find is important is once that baseline has been established within yourself, the folk process is there because it has been there for every fiddler who's picked up the instrument. As far as fiddler, no one who's picked up the fiddle has ever said to themselves, well, I take that back. Dwight Lamb says he wants to sound like Bob Walters. He's the only fiddler I've ever met that said he was only wanted to play like one other fiddler. There's no one else I had met that said, I want to play just like so and so. And those old fiddlers that we admire, Tommy Jarrell, Fred Cockerham, the list goes on. None of them sat around and said they wanted to play like someone else either. That's why they have different versions. And so, as much as I feel like it's important to study what has come before us, I also feel that the mark that we make on the music is our own personal mark. So when I'm playing a tune, I always try to get as close to bass line as I can to share that with others in a session. And as soon as I feel like that bass line has been presented and everyone knows where it starts, then I'm going to play the tune how I play the tune. Yeah. And so that's my take.
I'd say I'm naturally contradictory by nature, so I, think that I kind of think both. I think that you should learn something from the source, and you should really try and adhere to that. And I also think that you should sound like yourself and not try and imitate others. I kind of agree with what Tricia says, that it's all kind of mixed up for me too. There are a lot of different approaches to learning old time fiddle music, and they all seem valid to me.
I just have one thing I want to add, actually, that does fall in line with this, is that we recently have been teaching a tune, whereas I was quite fine with where I was with the folk process of it. But Howard, on the other hand, was not fine with the way the folk process had happened, and now is obsessed about going back and relearning the tune, not because I think he's disappointed with the way he plays the tune, but rather there are lessons probably in the original tune that both of us feel like we did not learn, meaning the way the tune was presented, we glossed over and folk processed it too soon.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I feel the same exact way. Like, I personally try to learn a tune and from the source recording and sound like the source recording, and no matter how hard I try to do that, I end up sounding like me. And I change the song or the tune with unconsciously change it, or like you said, just gloss over something that's vital that maybe you just didn't get the nuance of in the first listening.
Right.
There's tunes that we hear that just stick with us, and I always wonder, like, why does this tune stick out in my head but not these 10 others? And typically it's because there's some nuance that my subconscious is picking up that my ears aren't necessarily getting.
Yeah, makes sense.
One other thing that I think part of where we live, and the sort of the way that music and old time fiddle and country music and bluegrass all kind of intersected here, I think we might allow more things into our fiddling, which in some ways, like other styles, which also kind of, makes it personalized in our own way, which, it's all those influences of various kinds of country music, I think, in our lives.
Do you, either of you, have a personal current favorite that you're playing? Favorite
tune or fiddler? Because tune.
Yeah, like what's your new favorite tune, both of you?
Mine are actually a series of tunes. I'm working on about 6 of them, and the reason why I feel like I can do that is because they're old tunes that I've dropped, and I've decided I love them again, and I don't want to drop them for various reasons. So I haven't really learned a brand new tune in a long time, and I think that that's okay, because I feel like I've also reached the place where I have too many tunes. I can't maintain them all. And so it's not that I won't learn a new tune, but currently I'm relearning old ones, making sure that over the years I haven't morphed them too much, and that I can get them back to a bass line, but I have dropped them for whatever reason.
And what are they?
The new ones is a series of D tunes, nice groovy D tunes, and a few G tunes, like relearning Doctor Doctor and Fish Upon a Hook and Sugar in a Gourd by Niles Wilson, and I can't think of the other. Half the time I can't ever remember their names. They're just there. Oh, a tune called Same Old Road that I think Jeff Gehring had written. So just some great old tunes that for whatever reason I stopped playing.
Okay. What about you, Howard?
Well, I kind of have been on this quest lately um, to play tunes that are just naturally that I sort of intuitively know, and they're usually really common tunes like you know, Fisher's Hornpipe or Soldier's Joy or uh, Old Joe Clark. Just taking these really basic tunes and attempting to just play them and see what comes out, and it's really interesting to see what happens when you try and play a standard tune, and like, does it sound at all interesting, or does it sound boring, as they often can, because they're so, they can be watered down and stuff. So I've been really focusing on tunes that I never learned, if that makes sense. They're just tunes
I like
that
them, and
yeah,
they're just stuck in there.
they're just in my head.
Like I don't remember when I learned Red Haired Boy or Whiskey Before Breakfast or Old Joe Clark. Or
So yeah, you just take one of those tunes that just are in your head and you just play it through as you think it should be played, and what comes out, and is it any good, or is it or does it need tweaking, or do you not even really know it? That's kind of one of the things I've been doing. And then other than that, I also kind of often work on I've been working a lot on Bob Walters fiddling for, and I guess the most recent tune I learned was Drunken Wagoner, which I'm still struggling with.
I'd like to ask you both, kind of veering away from old time. What is your guilty pleasure musically? Like, what do you listen to in the car at full volume? If it's not,
we have so many.
Yeah, but mine is old time.
That's okay too.
I mean, it's not that I don't love other music, but I almost always gravitate to. There's a couple particular CDs that must have made a huge impact on my life, and I'll give a shout out to Mark Simos. Those Cliffhanger CDs are some of my, especially the ones that he did that were old tunes. I love the tunes he's written too, but that band still is one of my favorite bands, as well as Troublesome Creek, which is, I think, kind of sad, and I just think of Steve Arkin was in that band, and so I've been listening to them as well. So I mean, and I actually have the volume turned up really high with my travel fiddle in the car, and we'll play along with those folks, not while I'm driving, but while I'm at a stoplight.
I actually almost never listen to old time music unless I'm studying it.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to it to study it, but I listen to a lot of different kinds of music. I love like old 80s hardcore punk, and I love Jamaican dance hall, and I love like bebop, jazz, and really solid rock music, and I love everything. So I just listen to almost everything. There's nothing I dislike. There's only maybe individual artists that I don't cotton to.
Well, and I'm going to say that I love all those things too, but I probably, if Howard wasn't in my life, I probably would not listen to those, which has almost always been my life. I grew up listening to straight ahead country and western, which was fiddle tunes and bluegrass singing songs, and that's still what I gravitate to.
Yeah, that's
almost
actually
all the time.
That's the other thing I probably mostly listen to is like country music. I love country music.
Old country.
Old country, top
Yeah.
tier.
Pretty much. Although some new country I like too.
Do you? Like
well,
what?
I mean, like I like
Who's new country?
Well, like Randy Travis kind of 80s country.
I don't know if people would say that was new, dear.
That's
Maybe.
classic country now, sir. I was thinking more like Tyler Childress or
I don't even know who that
don't
is.
really know much. I don't know much about that stuff. Although, I've heard like some kind of stuff that's like some country style rap that's come out of what's the song the kids used to
Oh
sing?
yeah, that was fun.
What was that song?
I don't know, something about a road.
Old Town Road.
Old Town
that
Road.
like there's almost like a genre of country rap, and I've heard a little bit of that. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of nice.
I have a theory about Old Town Road, and if you listen very carefully to the music, I believe it's actually old time fiddle tune. Dusty Miller, the Mississippi one.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I'll have to listen.
Well,
to
I've played
it
the
up.
chords to it because we used to play it and the kids would sing it and
Nice.
play the
Fun.
guitars.
Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
but that actually, geez, I should have mentioned that's my favorite tune of all time.
Dusty Miller.
That's
it
my
is.
tune. Is
Yeah.
like Dusty Miller.
Probably is.
It's a great tune. Let me
I
shift
mean, there's so
real-
many good ones.
Yeah.
real quickly, and I just want to ask you guys both. It's been a crazy last 3-4 years, and as artists, musicians, how was that experience for you both? How'd you make it through the pandemic, and where are things going for you guys at the moment?
I'll go first. Is that okay? The pandemic was great, actually. I didn't think it was great at first. We had already been talking about slowing down, not being on the road so much. So that wasn't as scary as the fact of that it just happened all of a sudden and all of our income was wiped from us and we didn't know where we were going. But once we got past that and got into our new routines of what we were doing, it was the best thing for me personally. I didn't play a lot of fiddle over the pandemic, which I think I might have needed a break. I did a lot of gardening. I did a lot of health things like exercise. We bought our house during the pandemic and kind of, even though we've been here for almost 10 years, it was like we were never here enough to move in. I feel like we're now making this place our own. And music wise, I've reached just recently, probably within the last month, have never been quite as obsessed as I am with fiddling right now. However, I feel like probably coming to Florida, I won't be doing a lot of those things after I come see you all there. That if you're going to want to see me, you're going to have to find me online or come to my house personally, because I don't think I'm going to be touring much. I'm not saying I'm too old for it, but I might be too old for it. I just want to be at home and take care of my chickens and play fiddle on my porch and not care if I'm making a living from it.
Yeah, it was, it definitely was a difficult transition and a sudden transition from making our living as performers to having no performances. But as Tricia said, we were kind of looking ahead to doing that anyway. It happened very suddenly and kind of worked out for us. I think we've continued to be productive just on a much smaller and more local scale. A lot of our music and artwork is more local now, and we're focusing a lot less on social media and just on really kind of being a part of our community and being musicians in our community and artists in our community. And that's been really, really rewarding. And as Tricia said, I don't intend to not travel at all to perform, but we've already reduced it pretty significantly.
I also kind of want to make the connections be more personal. What I didn't realize before the pandemic is that I was worn out with the amount of social media. I was worn out with the amount of touring. And man, I tell you what, the old time community to me is one of the most loveliest, kindest group of people I have ever met. And I'm so thankful I've met so many people there. But I don't know that one is meant to stay connected with that many people at a very personal level, and I don't think I can continue that. I'm always open in meeting people, but I also feel like I really want to invest with things that are tangible, whether they be students, online students, or people who come to my home. And I don't know. Before the pandemic, I just didn't know. I was too close to the sun, I guess. I know now, and I know that I need to stay at distance from it so I don't get burned out, you know. So
What are you guys working on right now? Like, what, besides what you already mentioned, like, is there anything in the works? Is there an album? Is there collaboration? Anything to tell us about?
Well, we play a lot with our kids, and they just get better and better. And so a lot of our focus has been on playing with our sons, Isaiah and Orion, and Rue sometimes joins us on bass. And that's been really fun to play with them. It's like some of the most exciting old time music that we've got kind of going on. I play with a local band, a different old time band called the Wakarusa Roundabouts. And then Tricia's got this like really out there idea for an old time band called Eggtooth. That's
I want to rock old time.
Like the hatching chick.
Yes, thank you, because my family thought I made that up.
Yeah, chickens.
Yeah. That.
So we have a few different like ideas brewing.
But I think, I think probably people in Florida have heard me talk about the book. We're about ready to kick that book out of our house. That's about on the table. But I think my biggest thing is not so much of performance or playing as much as it is of wanting. I'm in the works of putting together a Kansas Midwest folk school where I would like to get into the schools and teach or at least present what old time music is, and get a new generation going.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Tricia Spencer and Howard Rains. You're going to be our guests at the 2023 Florida State Fiddlers Convention in October, and we just can't wait to see you guys.
Good. Thank you, David. Yeah.